Welcome everyone to this new competitive audit. Today we have a really interesting project, TempleGold by the TempleDAO team. We are also featuring the new interface on Codehawks, and of course, please be sure to take a look to all the contest details. TempleGold is a new ERC20 token, which is non-transferable, and it has a total supply of 1 billion tokens. The way this token works is a little bit interesting, and for explaining that to us and to give us context for this competitive audit, we have the team members from the TempleDAO team, Princeton and Lux. Hello guys, how you doing?
Hello, doing good. Happy to be here.
We're fine. Thank you for joining me today. So, yeah, basically, guys, the stage is yours. You can explain us what TempleGold is, and afterwards we can jump on a screen share section for you to show us some parts of the code if you like, so auditors will get more context about this competitive audit. So again, the stage is yours. Please tell us what TempleGold is.
Sure. I don't know if Lux is audible yet, but I can begin. First of all, I'd like to apologize for my voice. I have fever, so I might not sound the best on this call. And so what TempleGold is, it's an equity claim on future airdrops. So TempleDAO, we do a lot of farming from protocols such as Ethena. If you take Ethena, for example, we've farmed it for since the last 6 months or so. And TempleGold is a way for us to, like I said, an equity claim on future airdrops. So when we get these airdrops and allocations from protocols that we collaborate with, it's a way for us to share that with our stakers and users through auctions, right? So kind of TempleGold is a non-transferable ERC token, like you said, with a maximum supply of 1 billion. And yeah, it has layer zero integration. Sorry, it has layer zero integration, so it's cross-chain compatible. We intend to have it on EVM chains for now. And one caveat about TempleGold is it is not tradable also, so you kind of find it on liquidity pools to trade or buy and sell. So the only way to acquire it is through three ways, which I'll touch on whilst I go through the contracts. One way is through staking Temple to get TempleGold rewards. The second way is through an auction called the DAI Gold auction, where users are going to deposit DAI, and at the end of the auction period, the rate per quota of DAI bid will be the math will be done, and then the users will get the right amounts that they deserve of TempleGold. And the last one, which I'll talk about also later on, is through Spice auctions. So Spice auctions is actually the way that users can get the airdrops that we found from other protocols like Ethena. So with Spice auctions, the TempleGold that the users have claimed already, that is through the auctions and through staking rewards, they bid the TempleGold for these volatiles like Ethena, for example. So yeah, that's pretty much as background of TempleGold. And I don't know if Lux has something else to add to it.
Yeah, what's the percentage allocation on these ways to get TempleGold? I think it's 70% through gold auctions on via DAI bits, right? And the
Yeah.
rest is for staking and the hiring and retention incentives.
Yes, that is it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay,
Welcome.
great. GM, everyone. So yeah, just taking a step back, I think the easiest way to think about TempleGold is that it's a lot like airline miles or sort of like points that people are farming these days on different protocols. And it's just a way to sort of allow users to basically farm Temple equity and then use that equity to exchange for the different volatile tokens that we have in our treasury. And this sort of achieves two things. One is that it allows users to price in those volatile assets in our treasury that are not currently being priced into the price floor that we maintain. And then the other goal that we achieve is it allows us to sort of partner with other protocols. Like Princeton said, we get a lot of airdrops through our liquidity provider efforts, through our sort of incubator functions. And when we get these partner tokens, historically, we just sort of kept it in the treasury, which, you know, is good, but there's not really a way to price them. And if we sold those tokens, then it's a little bit bad for the partner, because then it's like Temple, this major holder, is dumping on the protocol, right? So it's not a good look. So instead, if we just sort of pass off these tokens to our users, they can hold it, they can sell it, they can do whatever they want. But in the end, it's sort of up to them. And then that way we delegate the sort of the management of those partner tokens to our community and not to our treasury.
That's pretty interesting. Something I wanted to ask you guys is that it seems that TempleGold action, because you mentioned some sort of actions, Princeton, the TempleGold action is going to be the first type of spicy bazaar action. And I would like to ask if you can explain us a little bit more about what a spicy bazaar action is.
Great.
Yes.
Yeah, I can take that question. So Spice Bazaar is sort of like the idea that TempleDAO, being a treasury-backed token and having a very healthy treasury, can support a lot of new projects and different partners in many different ways. And sort of it's all done through driving value to the Temple token and to the Temple community. So there are two main auctions in Spice Bazaar. One is the TempleGold auction, which is a way, as you mentioned earlier, to distribute the gold to the users, right? Even if you don't hold any Temple right now, you know, you don't have any Temple exposure, you can still use DAI and directly buy this Temple point or TempleGold, right? And then also, if you have Temple tokens, you're staked in the contract, and then you also get some emissions for TempleGold, right? So once the gold is distributed, like there's some circulating supply of it, we're going to start running these spice. I love the way you said it, spicy auctions, but we call them spice tokens. Which means it's sort of like any volatile token that we might receive through an airdrop or some sort of liquidity partnership, right? So once we have these other tokens, we put them up on auction, just like, you know, on eBay or something like that, where people can bid gold. And at the end of it's sort of like a Dutch auction, where it's not like the price goes down or not depending on the bid itself. It's just everyone who puts in money, or not money, but the TempleGold point. At the end, everyone gets that spice token at the same TempleGold price. So if people put in a lot of gold, then the token will be cheap relative to the gold that was put in. If expensive. If people don't put in a lot of TempleGold, then the token that is up for auction will be cheap relative to the gold that was put in. So this is really nice because, again, we're not relying on oracles, right? Like there's no fee that we have to tap into to price the auction token in terms of the TempleGold. We allow users to discover that process. So we expect that initially, maybe the first few auctions, people will be really confused, and then maybe like the gold price that gets bid will be very volatile. But I think over time, given historical auction results, the pricing for the volatile token that is being put up will become more sort of closer to what you would expect. And then users will be able to kind of figure it out, right? Because you can discover the price through the auction process just as easily as you can through, you know, AMMs or oracles in other systems. So that's how we expect to distribute these essentially volatile tokens that we get through the sort of Spice Bazaar relationship. And then TempleGold is sort of like the currency in the Spice Bazaar, where you can redeem the volatile token using the gold that you farmed or that you purchased directly through bidding DAI in the TempleGold auction.
Okay, let me see if I get it. Basically, anyone can participate on those actions, even though they don't have Temple token. They
Correct.
can use DAI. And for those who actually has Temple token, they can use it for staking to get that TempleGold token, right? And
Yes.
users are going to spend that ERC20 token, the TempleGold, for the auction pool, and the more people spend on that, the price is going to change, and that price is going to be in relation to the Temple token, right? So basically, if people put a
in
lot of
relation
points
to
of
the
Temple
token,
Gold,
that is, the price will change. So in the Spice auction, the Spice could be something like ENA or some other partner token that we have. And then that token will be bid on using the TempleGold. So that token, the volatile token price in TempleGold will change depending on how many people bid and how much they put in. But it's not going
but
to
the
be
price
priced
is
in
relative
Temple.
to Temple token, right?
The price is relative to the TempleGold.
The TempleGold. Okay, makes a lot of sense. Thank you very much. Yeah. So I think that this is more or less how TempleGold is going to work. Now, guys, if you like, you can share your screen and show us parts of the code. These keycaps are basically for auditors to get context on the code base, so they are going to be able to find better or worse bugs, depending on what you think, and give them context on how they are going to audit this project. So you can just share your screen and give us a hint of how the code works, what functions they are, and the scope of this audit.
Is my screen visible?
I'm just added to stage. So yep, you can go ahead and explain us a little bit more. Just wanted to mention that as we are on live stream, I would request you to make your screen bigger or add a zoom in, so for users to be able to see it better.
Is this better?
Yeah, I think it is.
Sweet. Okay, so if you look at a repository, the Solidity files and the TempleGold are in scope. I'll dive into each and every contract in a bit. Just the general information about it. But I'll talk about it whilst I dive into the contracts. And things that are not in scope basically are results from the previous audits with Cyfrin. In addition, ERC20 tokens that have fee on token transfer or are not 18 decimal points, like USDC, out of scope. And any other finding from Slater running Slater is also out of scope. External libraries, like I said, we are integrating TempleGold integrates with layer 0. So layer 0 is out of scope, open sampling is out of scope, and pretty much any external library. So yeah, Lax already mentioned that one of the Spice tokens that we'll be having is Ethena. So we have here as the compatibility tokens, compatible tokens. And then for the blockchains, it's pretty much any EVM compatible blockchain. So like Berachain, which is still in the works, and Arbitrum 1. Yeah, so known issues, these are except from the Cyfrin audit. There are some known issues that we acknowledged but chose not to fix. So these are here just as a reminder of the known issues. And one that I can touch on is that we can assume that the distributing starter is a trusted role. I'll get to this also in the contracts.
Just one small thing. Sorry for interrupting you. Can you just please make a little bit more zoom? It seems that it might be not good for smaller monitors. Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you very much. Sorry for interrupting.
Okay, no problem.
Same for the code, please. Yeah, thank you very much.
Is this big enough?
Yeah, big enough.
Okay, good. Let's start from TempleGold. Yeah, so TempleGold has layer 0 integration. It's non-transferable, and yeah, you cannot trade it on an AMM because we are using it as a point system, as Lax explained. It has a cap maximum supply of 1 billion, and the way distribution works pretty much is using this parameter called a vesting factor. So the initial vesting factor that we plan to use is 3 years, and this is likely not going to change. So vesting factor of 1 second over 3 years means in 3 years, all 1 billion supply is going to be well distributed. And the main function here is public, so anyone can call mint. And what mint does pretty much is to calculate the amount that is supposed to be minted based on the current time and the vesting factor that has been previously set. So after minting, like we said, there's a distribution that is done, and the distribution is to the staking contract, to the Gnosis, Team Gnosis, and also for incentives. And then finally, the TempleGold auction. TempleGold auction is called escrow here, but it's pretty much the TempleGold auction. And then when it comes to layer 0 integration, we are excluding composed messages. So layer 0 has a functionality where after a cross-chain transfer, there are extra executions that are done. We are avoiding this basically. So we have a check here that says if the message is composed, you revert. And the reason being, we want to just limit the functionality to transfer, which is enough after the receiver receives that the tokens. And one thing I also have to mention is that maintenance is only done on Arbitrum. So of course, because it's layer 0 integration, it's going to be cross-chain. There are going to be multiple versions of TempleGold on different chains, but maintenance will only be done on Arbitrum. Did I miss anything else? Yeah, the distribution parameters. So distribution parameters like 70, 20, 10 for the staking, TempleGold auction, and the Team Gnosis respectively. So we set this with set distribution parameters. Yeah, that's it here. And the way that we ensure the non-transferability is to check, layer 0 OFT is based on ERC20. So there's the update function. And here we check that the address receiving or sending is either authorized or not. And then if none is authorized, we revert as non-transferable. And an authorized contract here is pretty much staking, the Spice auctions, and the Team Gnosis. And then in the layer 0 send functionality, we check that the user is transferring to their own address. So if you want to cross-chain transfer TempleGold, the receiver has to be the same holder of the TempleGold token. That's about it. Sorry, for TempleGold. Next, I'll talk about is TempleGold admin. So TempleGold admin is the admin for TempleGold. Because TempleGold inherits from layer 0 OFT, which uses the ownable contract. Here at Temple, we do have a more fine-tuned version of ownable, which pretty much, long story short here, is that it allows specific addresses to call certain functions. So it's more an advanced form of ownable. And so because we want to enable that to use that, we had to introduce a TempleGold admin, which is pretty much going to administer any any guarded function here in TempleGold, including the OFT. There are 0 OFT. So like setting vesting factor or setting distribution parameters will be done by the gold admin, which is controlled by the elevated access, which is the multi-sig address. Next, I'll talk about is Temple Teleporter. The functionality here is pretty much straightforward. It teleports Temple to other chains. The staking is done on Arbitrum. So majority of Temple supply is on mainnet. So we need to enable a way to transfer to Arbitrum 1. And the most important functions here are the teleport and then the receive. So here we are burning the amount of Temple on mainnet, and then on the receiving side, we mint the same amount. That is pretty much the functionality here for Temple Teleport. And yeah, we can go on to staking. Yeah, so staking takes a lot of motivation from the OG synthetics staking contract, and there are a couple of modifications and changes that are done. The first modification is we introduced a vesting factor for the distribution of rewards. So in the traditional synthetics staking contract, the rewards are distributed over a period of time, and each staker is pretty much considered like the right amount of rewards will be sent based on the time that you staked. Here we are using a vesting scenario where we have a variable called, where is this? We have a vesting period, which is set by elevated assets. And the vesting period pretty much controls the emission of the rewards for the staker. So you can see way here in the calculation of earned, that is how much a user has earned over time after staking. We calculate the vesting rate, which is based on the vesting period. So if you stake at time t, you'll be fully vested at time t plus the vesting period, right? So we use that to calculate the rate and then calculate the amount of rewards that you earned. The second modification that has been done, sorry, is the staking. Because of the introduction of the vesting rate, we need to, each stake is accounted as different. So a user staking at time t, and then at again time t plus 2 will have different stakes. So to get reward, or to, for example, let's see, get reward. To get reward, you need to indicate the index of the stake that you want to get reward for. So it could be the same staker, but with different indexes if they have staked multiple times. So that is the second modification. The last modification is voting. As Lax said, the SPICE auctions will be controlled by governance. So the main factor here is the configuration, because SPICE auctions have configuration that need to set, like what is the minimum amount of tokens that need to be distributed, for example. So these will be set by governance, and for that we introduced voting capabilities by getting votes. That's current vote, and this is also based on Compound's voting mechanism, where you keep checkpoints based on the block numbers. So with get current votes and get prior votes, you can calculate the voting power of a staker. And this is token based, so this uses no vesting. This is just direct amounts of the balances of the staker. Yeah, I think I touched on the important part here in staking. Let's see. Yeah, so we can dive into the DAI gold auction. So the DAI gold auction here, bidders are going to bid a stable token. Right now, it's DAI that is decided on, and it's not likely that it's going to change. But we do have a setup function just in case you want to change it. And they will bid DAI for TempleGold rewards. So remember in the beginning, TempleGold, when it's minted, it distributed also to the DAI gold auction. So that will be used in calculating the next rewards to be distributed. So these are more in like epochs. So so let's say sets auction config, the configuration that needs to be set here. Let me just check it right here. So this is the structs for the config. It's set the cooldown for config. So basically, it's a cooldown after auction start is triggered. So just to allow in case we have to retrogress and revert something, we have a cooldown before the auction actually starts. And auction time difference. The plan now is to have the auctions last for 1 week, but they will be held bi-weekly, so every 2 weeks. And then we have the auction minimum distributed gold. So the minimum amount of gold that should be distributed for each auction. Yeah. So when you start the auction, there is a distribute gold, which is set just to, just in case the main function on TempleGold hasn't been called in a while. We distribute gold, which will call the main function on TempleGold and distribute some TempleGold tokens. We distribute some TempleGold tokens for the next epoch of auction. And one thing to also mention is that bidding is one way. When you bid, that's it. You cannot retrieve your bid token, your DAI amounts, because we don't want to have a situation where bidders are able to manipulate the system by just bidding at the right time or withdrawing their bids just to when they realize that maybe there's not too much in for them. So to avoid manipulation, bidding is one way. And then claim can be done only after the bidding for that epoch ends. So to call on claim, you have to add the epoch ID that you want to claim for, and then you can claim at any time, so long as the auction epoch has ended. Even if it's in the past a year or more, you can always claim for an epoch. So your rewards are always there for you. And yeah, that's the important part for DAI gold auction. Yeah. And then there is spice auction. Spice auction, we are going to have different spice auctions. So compared to DAI gold auction, where the auctions are just based on DAI and TempleGold, and spice auctions could be any volatile token, like Lax said, so ENA, for example. And we curate spice auctions contracts with this factory. So you create an auction with a spice token, basically, and then it creates the spice auction contract, which can be reused many times for the same token, spice token. So there are some constants here: the maximum duration of an auction, the maximum wait period between successive auctions, and then the minimum amount of time that the auction will run for. And here, compared to the DAI gold auction, where configuration is just set once, or could be the same configuration is used for all epochs. Here, different configurations are used for different epochs, and I'll explain why shortly. And this is because at any point in time, the bit token could be either TempleGold or the Spice token, right? But mostly it's going to be, the bit token is mostly going to be TempleGold, but there might be scenarios where we need to interchange that. So there are different configurations for each epoch, basically. Yeah. Yeah, so that is set auction config, where we check that the constants are being validated before setting the auction of config for that epoch. And there's also optionality to remove an auction config if we think that it's set wrongly and that the auction hasn't yet started. We do all the validation and checks before removing the auction. And this is all controlled by DAO. So you see that the modifier here is only DAO executor. And then there is the start auction. So basically what we do here is to check that the configuration that is set for that epoch is satisfied before we begin. We also check the number of Spice tokens or TempleGold tokens that have been sent to the contract, if that is also that requirement is also met before we start the start the auction. And the idea behind bidding and claiming is pretty much the same as the DAI gold auction, except that because we have different configuration here, you have to also check for and validate those configurations. Same mentality with also claim. Sorry, same idea with claim also. You can claim for past epochs so long as they are ended. And then we also have a recover token. So if a token if an auction hasn't started yet, and for instance, our partner sent some Ethena and it happened that, it was by mistake sent to the wrong contract, we can recover that token and delete the auction config so that we don't start by mistake. And probably rare, but there could be occasions where we have auctions where no one bid anything. So this is a recover function for such a scenario. And that is it for Spice auction. The rest, I think the rest are just helper. This is auction based that is inherited by both auctions, both DAI Gold and Spice auction. And then we have an epoch library here that is used for time-based validations. That is used by also DAI Gold auction and Spice auction contracts. And I think that is it for the code. So we could also check and run clone and then get it started. I already cloned the repo. So the protocol contracts are in the protocol folder. So you see these are protocol. We have to make sure you're using node version greater than 18. So I'm going to set it to 20. And so first of all, you have to yarn install. A prerequisite is to have yarn installed already, and also Foundry. This is going to take a bit, so I'll just drink some water.
On the meantime, shall we answer some questions by the community? Nice. So let's get started. In all honesty, says, how does the protocol treat rebasing tokens?
So rebasing tokens are also out of scope. So we don't intend to use rebasing tokens in any of the auctions.
Okay, makes a lot of sense. Let's start with the easier questions, and then let's jump into the harder ones, because people here actually ask some difficult questions. So, which of the scope contracts interact with each other? This question is made by Deep.
Which of the scope contracts interact with each other? So obviously TempleGold admin interacts with TempleGold staking. TempleGold, because the admin is the admin of TempleGold. So any guarded function that needs to be called is called through TempleGold admin. Temple Teleporter interacts with Temple in a way, but Temple token itself is out of scope. Like as in the contract itself, the ERC20 contract, but it interacts with Temple because you need to transfer the Temple. Spice Auction Factory is pretty much a factory that creates Spice auctions. So what you do, you give it a Spice token, it checks if that Spice token is not existent, and then it deploys the Spice auction and then returns the address. I think that's pretty much the interactions between the contracts.
Thank you very much. Then Shikar Awarlar says, why OFT approach is used in TempleGold rather than OApp approach used for Temple transfers in the Temple Teleporter? Asking, as you said, only functionality in TempleGold is to perform minting and burning.
Yeah, okay, so OFT, if you look at the layer 0 code, OFT is OFT is a type of OApp, right? So OApp contains the basic functionalities, which is basically using for sending messages, right? So basically what layer 0 is for sending messages cross-chain. So OApp has all those basic functionality, but OFT extends it to the ERC20 level. But here we don't need an ERC20 OFT for transfer. That is the case for TempleGold, because in TempleGold itself, we are creating an ERC20 token, which OFT already inherits. So that is appropriate in this case. And OFT has convenient functions like send and receive that will help to make the cross-chain easier. But for Temple Teleporter, we are not creating an ERC20. We just need to send messages cross-chain, and OAP is sufficient.
Makes a lot of sense. Thank you very much. Next, we have in a Spice Auction Factory, create auction, you use an input param called name that's used as an input in the constructor of a Spice auction. Is that used anywhere else? If not, then what's the utility?
The name is also just to, like when you're on Etherscan, for example, to differentiate the different Spice auctions. So just like tokens have names, Spice auctions also have names. So it's just to differentiate the different auctions, Spice auctions. Sorry.
Makes a lot of sense. Thank you very much. Is that installation already finished?
Yes, yarn is done. So now we can also try Forge. So we have to inform this. Foundry is a prerequisite, so it should already be okay. So now we can run some tests. So okay, I mean, if you think compilation takes a lot of time, you can set Foundry profile to light, and compiling is going to be faster. So Forge test, we're gonna MCS an alias for match contract, and we're gonna say match contract TempleGold, and it's gonna run. You could also match path. You could match tests, and so on and so forth. So that's it pretty much for the presentation, and I'm happy to answer any further questions. And happy coding.
Yeah, let's see if we have any other questions. Otherwise, for our community, remember, you can always ask questions on our Discord. Thank you very much for Preston and Lux to be here explaining how the codebase works for TempleGold. We hope to get a lot of submissions for this competitive audit. And if we don't have any more questions, let's wait, let's say 10 more seconds. If not, we can safely close this live and saying thank you again to Princeton and Lux for explaining how the codebase works. Do you have any final comments, you guys?
And we are really looking forward to a lot of submissions. And please hack away, try your best to find vulnerabilities. I'm counting on you.
And this is for me, like this is the first time we've worked with the CodeHawks community, and we're really looking forward to see all the great submissions that will be coming out.
We hope as well. We got a lot of submission for this competitive audit. Thank you very much. And yeah, that's it. Thank you very much for being today with me here on this kickoff. Thank you for explaining how the code base works. And for our community, we hope you find a lot of vulnerabilities and bugs on this audit.
Thanks.
Remember, you can always contact us asynchronously. And thanks again, Princeton and Lux. Bye-bye. And I'm closing this stream now. See you.
Thanks, everyone. Happy hunting.
Bye.
Bye.